one of the main elements of Pilates is trying to work in alignment with our individual body and
Mm,
understanding mind body connection. So, for
mm.
a lot of people who I know who have gotten injured when they have worked out with other systems, it's because they've only followed what the teacher has said. And that's from very young. It was do the exercise exactly as outlined, keep pushing because that's how you get stronger. And yet, for every single person, they said, I knew I should stop. And we are not taught at a young age or even older to listen to the wisdom of our body.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn
Hi,
around.
folks. Welcome back to Neff Inspiration, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stefan Neff. Today is a fantastic interview, and I'm looking forward to my guest today. I've got Beth Sandlin with me. Beth is a woman who has made it her mission to help us live a very intentional life, a very aligned life, where the body and mind and spirit and all those things that actually play such an important role, but often are a bit fragmented and sort of floating around here, left, right, and that actually come together and create a new version of us, version 2.0, or maybe in some cases 10.0, 12.0. I don't know. I am constantly evolving. I'm sure Beth is. So I can't wait to say hello. Beth, welcome to my show.
Thanks so much for inviting me, and I'm so thrilled to be here.
Well, they say the issues lie in the tissues. And I think, therefore, when we actually start addressing our physical well-being, and especially the way our body is working, and I think there is a very strong chance that we can actually improve ourselves dramatically. Now, I have only recently become a convert, truly, but you have been on the journey quite a while, haven't you? How did it all
I
start with
have.
you?
I have been on it for quite some time, and I will raise my hand up high and say when I was very young, I did not like working out at all. It was really embarrassing for me in middle school, and I tried to sneak my way out at every turn that I possibly could in PE class.
Uh-huh.
And at the time, I didn't realize that the dance classes I was attending actually were really good for the body and considered a workout. Because when we were growing up, we had maybe a much more narrow and rigid definition of workouts. And so often that's held with us for a lifetime rather than really evaluating, well, how can we make some adjustments and changes?
Mm.
So it was when I was in college at the age of 19, I was walking up a flight of stairs and I realized I'm getting winded. And this was not 2 flights of stairs, it was 1 flight of stairs. And something I wanted to try was hiking. And I realized, if I want to try hiking, I should probably be able to walk up a flight of stairs without getting winded. And that got me motivated to go to the gym on my own initiative for the very first time.
Nice, nice. Okay. Now, that is out of interest. Did you also have a problem with weight at that time?
I didn't. I have never really worked out because of weight, but I've always been really comfortable with the natural fluctuation. So, did I gain weight the year after high school? Well, yes, because my eating habits dramatically changed. I mean,
Mm.
I went to Del Taco all the time to have nachos, which definitely were not in my high school diet. And I wasn't moving my body the way
Uh,
I was in high school. So, although I didn't like formal physical activity, I did do color guard, which is like a sports activity practice 5 to 7 days a week, depending upon the time of the year. So I was very active. And of course, when I took that all away, that physical activity, my weight did increase. But that really wasn't my motivation to start working out, was because I realized, oh my goodness, I can't even walk up that flight of
mm,
stairs.
mm,
And
mm.
about a year later, I was diagnosed with cancer, and that actually reignited my passion for working out again, not from a physical perspective so much
Mm,
as like our physical body, how it looks,
mm,
but because my energy obviously took a huge tank during my cancer treatment,
mm,
and I realized, it's not about weight. because I actually weighed the least amount I ever have when I was undergoing cancer treatment.
No
And
surprise.
also after another surgery I had about 10 years later. And if you were to look at me, you would have thought she's a healthy young girl, and I was anything but. So I'm really fortunate in the sense I would never wish cancer upon anyone. And I hope I never go through it again. But it also helped connect me with the true value of moving our body from a physical conditioning perspective. And then many years later is when I started working more in alignment with my nervous system and my energy. And it kind of pulled everything together for what I call aligned action and also sustained motivation.
Beautiful, beautiful. And sometimes we need these kind of rude awakenings, that the universe is, or God, or whatever you believe in, is throwing at you. And I think these are unique opportunities. They're often linked with significant trauma, but they stop us in our track. They stop us on our hamster wheel and force us to come off and reevaluate. And therefore, once you understand the opportunity that you were given, rather than yet another obstacle or yet another trauma that was thrown in front of you or at you, then post-traumatic growth can happen. And wow, I'm very sorry to hear that. May I ask which kind of cancer you've had?
Of course, I had acute myeloid leukemia.
Bloody hell, yeah. Okay, and the chemo is brutal for that. So yeah, and it zaps all the energy out. And it takes months and sometimes years to actually get you back to a reasonable, functionable state. How was your nutrition at that stage? You were referring to Taco Bell and the takeaways.
Yes, definitely went down the path of convenience and not really thinking about how that was impacting my body. And once I started going to the gym, at the same time, I started trying to make my own food for the first time
Nice.
at a very young age. And then during cancer and afterwards, it was the reason why I wanted to make my own food more, which it took me years to kind of come up with my go-to recipes now, but it was just trying one at a time and then seeing what I liked and ditching that which I didn't like. And so when people say, how do you eat so healthy? How are you so good? And I don't term it as that. I actually enjoy what I eat. If I didn't enjoy movement or enjoy what I was eating, there's no way I would be doing this for over 20 years now. So it's allowing myself some opportunity to shift and exploration and knowing when to lean into that and when not to lean into it. So for example, when I was going through my cancer treatment, it was really what I could keep down. And honestly, that first round, I figured out I could eat chicken fingers, mashed potatoes, and corn for dinner. Everything else was not great. So the next treatments I did when I was in the hospital, that's what I stuck with. Is that what we want for dinner every night? No, but for that very short term in my life, that was actually taking action that was beneficial for me. And I knew later I could focus more on experimenting with different foods and I didn't have as many side effects and also contraindications from eating different types of healthy foods.
Oh, cool, cool. Everything in moderation, including moderation. You're so right. Ah, man. But that I love it the way you say it, because there is no diet in sight. What you have created is your food plan that you stick to, where you know that you're eating healthy, wholesome food that is not highly processed, not full of sugar, not full of crap. Instead, you have figured out and you have trained your taste buds. There's a certain training effect there. It's certainly in the past I had probably quite a sweet taste. And then I've really over the last 10 years, I've changed. And nowadays, if I buy a commercial cheesecake and have a bite of it, ugh, It just makes, it's just my taste buds tell me, nah, that's crap. So it's actually a really beautiful thing, but there are habits there. There's taking action involved, and there is growing involved also in your skills. You had to learn how to cook. How cool is that? And many young people nowadays can't. They just have never been taught. It's not for nothing that the obesity rate in the United States has now risen to such a pandemic level. It's no longer funny. Wow. Okay. But being active is one thing. You could have chosen anything. Muay Thai kickboxing, or you could have chosen, I don't know what, circus arts. But you chose, well, what did you choose initially? You chose the gym, but nowadays you have evolved. You have become a different woman. How did that journey go?
I definitely have evolved. So after my cancer journey, I went back into the gym because that was what was convenient for me. My family paid for a family membership. So for me personally, it was free. It's always a great place to start, especially when we're experimenting, I say.
Yeah.
And when I transferred colleges, I just wound up in a Pilates class and I really enjoyed it. My teacher explored the nuances of the exercises, how to make them more effective for us personally. And it was similar to what I was doing in the gym, yet there was something a little bit more intriguing and also thoughtful about it. From a physical perspective, what I realized is it was really easy for me to do challenging workouts when I had energy. And when I had lower energy, maybe because of stress from college or sleep deprived again from college, or because of the treatment I was still undergoing from cancer, I had maintenance therapy for approximately 2 years after I was in remission, that I was able to turn down that dial of intensity. And
Nice.
for many years, I focused on the physical elements of why we may want to increase our workout intensity or decrease it. And yet it was once I started learning more about trauma, stress, and the nervous system that I realized there's another element here which can be really helpful to adjusting the dial of intensity. So we're not only working in alignment with what's good for our physical body, but for our nervous system regulation. And that for me was really the key to unlock sustained motivation and also a guilt-free approach to working out, whether it's a short 5-minute workout like we were talking about just before we pressed record on here. And side note, I'm just now doing a 5-minute Pilates series as well, because I believe in the power of everywhere from incredibly short workouts to longer length workouts when we have time for that and it makes sense for us.
And your body allows you to do it, or even yearns for it. That's so important, isn't it? Because I always talk about a 5-minute gardener. If you were to spend 5 minutes every day in your garden, never less, never more, after a week, you'll see a difference. After a month, your family thinks, well, garden looks nice. And after 3 months, you get bus tours coming along who are checking out your garden. And that's just 5 minutes a day that you invest into a specific task, skill, relationship, aspect of your body, of your life. And it is it's the compound interest that you're reaping the rewards on. And I think that is exactly what you are highlighting, to every day do something. And sometimes your body will just say, what do you mean 5 minutes? No, come on, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Come on, I want it. And then other days, the 5 minutes are just enough. Beautiful that you look at this feedback loop that your body actually is giving you, that the feedback that it says, well, actually today, nah, sorry. But you gave it a shot, which is a win for you. Oh, wow.
It really is, especially with all the messages that we get with workouts. They always have to be hard. They always have to be long in length to make them count. You have to go somewhere else. You have to work with someone else. It has to be formal. And I'm with you. I actually do try to, in the springtime anyways, 5 minutes outside to do gardening. And I count it as a work break. It's a little bit of time in the sun. I was just out front doing that today. And sure, I could have kept going, but I was like, you know what? No, actually, this is going to motivate me tomorrow for my 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And by this weekend, maybe I'll do 10 minutes instead of just the 5.
Exactly. Oh, it's beautiful. But this is us uh, checking out the huge privilege that we actually are given every second, the privilege of choice. We can choose to just do nothing, or choose to eat crap, or we can choose to do something that maybe is laying down a foundation for a healthier life, for a better life, for the new version of us who we hopefully want to be. And most people just have not had the 2x4 over the head like you and like me with my addiction, with my trauma in the past, that made me realize what a privilege every second in life actually is. And that I nowadays want to live it with intention, live it in alignment. But tell us a bit more about Pilates, because Pilates is something that people who have never done it will probably have preconceived, prejudices. It's something like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't even want to go into the negative connotations of things like that. Well, how would you describe Pilates to a friend who has never ever done it?
I think the best way to know what Pilates is to just give it a try. So I say that before I even describe it,
Yeah,
because it really is a personal experience. When I started, it was about a really good workout. And that's actually what it is for a lot of people
yeah.
is they want a good workout. Maybe their friend has tried it or they've heard about it in the past. Sometimes physical therapists recommend people to move with Pilates. And it is a whole body movement system. So not just about the core. Many times people will say Pilates is for a really good core workout. It's that and so much more because we focus on total body connection. So
Mm,
when we lift our arm, we are doing core stabilizing work without having to do an ab crunch. Now, do we have specific ab exercises? Of course.
mm,
One of the main elements of Pilates is trying to work in alignment with our individual body and
mm,
understanding mind body connection. So,
mm,
for a lot of people who I know who have gotten injured when they have worked out with other systems, it's because they've only followed what the teacher has said. And that's from very young, it was do the exercise exactly as outlined, keep pushing because that's how you get stronger. And yet, for every single person, they said, I knew I should stop. And we are not taught at a young age or even older to listen to the wisdom of our body. So I like to think about when I do those challenging workouts, I say to myself, I'm going to push you, but I will also listen to you when I need to do something a little bit different, a different
Beautiful.
variation, down on the knees for a push up, take a break. Or maybe today isn't a push day. Maybe it's more of a restorative day, focusing on deep breathing and gentle movements.
Yep.
And so Pilates really can be everywhere from something very soothing to much more challenging and powerful. And I
Mm,
always suggest to give one class a try. If you kind of liked it, try again because it's the learning curve that
mm.
as adults, sometimes we don't give ourselves permission to really explore
Yeah,
as we did when we were children. I
yeah.
can't tell you how many different activities I have enrolled my kids in over the years, everywhere from basketball to dance and different arts. And when they don't like something, I don't think, oh, you didn't like basketball, you can never try another sport. It's we're going to try something a little bit different. And sometimes we circle back to things. And so I encourage people just step on the mat, give it a try, and try again, try again.
Which is beautiful. Also, I think there is a lot to be said about a pattern in our lives. It is typical that we have got all the strength and all the often flexibility as younger versions of ourselves. I certainly did heaps of martial arts, heaps of circus arts, falling. I was quite good. My body was great, and I was proud of it when I was in my late teens, early 20s. Of course, the moment I now restart doing sport in my early 50s or late 40s or whatever it is, you think, of course, yeah, here I am. No, come on, I show you what I can do. I got my kids, I took them to Taekwondo, and I got training with the sensei there. And he was sort of, we did roundhouse kicks, and I was getting faster and higher and higher. Yeah, I was 20 again. And suddenly it made ping, and the back of my hamstring said, nah, you're no longer 20. Okay. So there you go. And I think it's especially important for us in middle age to actually recognize that we are no longer 20. And therefore, if you actually go like me, stupid, and go all out in, you will end up with injuries. And if I get $1 for every injury that I've treated as an anesthetist, with shoulder injuries, etc., who was exactly that story, for crying out loud. So now Pilates is actually an amazing starting point, because it is really body weight exercises, isn't it? Use your body and movement through space to actually put load on muscles. And you very soon recognize that there are muscles that you haven't used for a while, isn't it? What is the most common thing that people say after their first Pilates class?
It really depends. It's a spectrum from that was really challenging, that was easier than I thought, or that was just right, like the Goldilocks option, like, this porch is just right. And I say, if it's really challenging, I want you to try something maybe a little bit easier, find more ease in your practice.
Right.
And opposite of that, if you're thinking, this is super easy, come work with me. I'm going to show you the nuances and how to make it more effortful, but in an intelligent way. So it's not just grimace through and engage everything to the max, but it's really working more intelligently with the body. And as you mentioned, body weight exercises are really at the foundation of Pilates. There's also, if someone were to go to a Pilates studio, they can work on larger pieces of equipment that not only work to add extra resistance to exercise, and also support different exercises. So it helps the body work through a fuller range of motion. And what we know is, as we get older, that we tend to, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And a lot of people think, I'm just getting older, so I don't have the range of motion, I don't have the strength. Well, really, we're not doing those same activities that we did when we were younger. And like you mentioned, when we try again, we may start too hard, too quick, too intense, because exactly how you highlighted, our mind remembers what we used to be able to do. Our body actually remembers as well. And yet we aren't in that same area for physical conditioning that we used to be. So my suggestion is always, let's start shorter than we want to and slower, and really focus on, how is that feeling? You were feeling good afterwards. Maybe you keep the same intensity. Maybe you dial it up a little bit, but it's so much better than that weekend warrior mentality that a lot of people try, where it's, I'm going to go for an hour, a few hours, and then the rest of the week it just seems depleted. And I have been there. It is not the best way to move. It feels defeating. It feels like you can't work out anymore, which is why turning down that dial of intensity is so valuable. And
so true.
One element I think that's really helpful as well is if we can focus on a home practice. So most often when we go to a gym or your Taekwondo studio or a Pilates class, it's going to be the full hour. However, if we're just starting out a new exercise modality, especially if maybe we've just been sick or injured, that full hour may not be really beneficial. Maybe better to start 5-10 minutes. And I know this not only from working with clients, but I have had to do that recovery as well. We're just even being in quadruped position, bird dog, if you know that exercise, hands and knees. I couldn't even be there for 5 deep breaths because I was still healing my body.
Exactly.
And it's that slow progression up that's so valuable. And I think it just takes detaching from the message of what we should do for workouts, and instead tuning into, where are we now and what's truly going to be beneficial for us today.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. And I think that is, once we start getting more into alignment with the messages of our body, you learn. It's like learning a new language. Initially, it all sounds like babble, and then suddenly you actually begin to realize, okay, that is what my body's actually telling me. Now, sometimes your body lies. Sometimes there is the procrastinator in you. So therefore, that's where the 5 minute gardener comes in. Because if you do every day 5 minutes, then very quickly your body, you've done 5 minutes of workout, whatever it is you've decided to do, and then suddenly the procrastinator falls away because all the other guys coming out and say, yes, let's play. And sometimes it's not a procrastinator, it's actually your body saying, no, I'm so tired, I'm so worn out. You have given me no sleep, I'm dehydrated, your food intake was shit, and now you want me to work out? Really? And by the way, did we talk about the trauma over the last week? So, once you can actually decipher the language that is used by your body, it's an amazing thing. I certainly know from many a times from personal experience, but also from guests who are focusing more on trauma resolving activities, maybe trauma focused yoga or things like that, that it's not uncommon that there are tears after a exercise class. Does that also happen in Pilates?
It does. It's happened to me many times. It's happened to a lot of my clients. And I've even cried like during a run, that when we move our body, sometimes we have an emotional release, and sometimes we feel like, this isn't the right place for it. But knowing, I think that it's normal and it occurs, and it could be something that maybe you've just been going and going, that chronic stress that we hear so much about, where a movement class is the first time all week or many weeks where you just had a time for yourself. And because of that, your body just starts releasing and feels more at ease to do that. Or it could be from past trauma that we've experienced as far back as childhood or even intergenerational. And that's really what you were alluding to, that listening to the wisdom of your body takes a skill, I would say, especially if when we were growing up, don't listen, hold in your emotions, don't go to the bathroom when you need to go. I mean, that's kind of built into the school environment, unfortunately. Raise your hand to go to the bathroom. No, now's not the right time. You need to wait. You can go later. And in small ways, it's just part of our experience. And yet when we take more, I think, understanding and then also empowerment to actually, I have more autonomy now than I did when I was younger. And what are my signals telling me? And many times we may not be able to hear that whisper. And as we continue listening, we'll be able to tune in sooner rather than later. Sometimes it escalates a lot. And then what we do is, why didn't I listen to myself? We go down this guilt path. And I reframe that of, you know what? I kept saying I should stop, I should pause, I should do something different, or I should step on my Pilates mat, whatever it may be. And next time I'm going to listen a little bit sooner rather than I should have. Just say, okay, lesson learned. Next time I'm going to tune in to what my body is telling me. And one final thing here that we can definitely keep going on about is it is challenging sometimes to know when we are maybe stuck in a pattern that no longer serves us. Like, I don't feel like going outside to garden. I don't feel like going on my Pilates mat. But for so many people who I work with, what they've experienced is they know the shifts that happen after a movement experience. And sometimes that's their motivation to just press play and get started. And for a lot of people, it's, I'm going to do that Pilates warm up. I'm going to do a very short class. And if they have time, just like you were saying with gardening, sometimes it turns into something a little bit longer. And that's movement that if they just would have kind of thought, not today, they would have bypassed and not gotten the beautiful benefits.
Exactly. And I think there's a saying, 80% of success is just showing up. And you just stepping onto the mat is showing up. You just actually starting something, however long it is. That is great. There was a recent study released now where they looked, for example, at the amount of steps that you have to take, because we are always going on about, oh, no, 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 in order to lose weight, you need to walk, oh, at least from here to Africa and back. And it's we are setting ourselves sometimes some really stupid goals and some expectations that are based on bugger all. And that particular study looked at, how many steps should you actually take? And it turns out every single step you take is beneficial, okay? And yeah, there's a sweet spot somewhere around 10,000. Yeah, that's quite all right. But in actually reality, 6,000 in a day is quite nice to actually get your metabolism going. So here you are. Once you actually learn how to change your expectations and realize that even small amounts of activity, and I call it activity, not exercise, small amounts of activity can actually be incredibly beneficial. Wow. Then suddenly a new world opens up to you because you can squeeze in activity left, right, and center once you actually pay attention to it. Just as much as you need to pay attention to the language of your body, maybe also there are some skills and some habits that we can bring out in us. What are sort of the habits that you like to start off with your clients?
Really tuning into how they're feeling that day and what are their goals, both on and off the mat. So many times with Pilates, people start focusing on, I want to get the 100 exercise, which is a very classic exercise. I want to get that down. I want to be able to do the rollover. I want to be able to do the roll up. Okay, well, what are your goals in life? Like get up off the floor with ease and back down, walk up the stairs and feeling better, having more energy throughout the day. And it actually links back to many Pilates exercises, why we want to work to understand them more, both from a brain level, like a cognitive brain, we understand, but also from an experiential level. And both of those take time. It's kind of like reading a manual of how to ride a bike. And then if you try to ride a bike for the first time, most people aren't going to get it on that first try, maybe a little wobbly. My kids took a really long time to learn how to ride their bike. The first time I rode my bike, I ran right into a car because I didn't understand the steering element. And giving ourselves time to learn how to do new movements or movements we've done in the past in a different way.
Yeah.
Just is a journey. And it could be because our understanding of how our body moves is going to continue to evolve. It could also be the fact that we know strength gains can happen in a few weeks' time if we're consistent. But for mobility, for our fascia, for stretching, this actually takes months, if not up to 2 years. I'm going to say it again, up to 2 years to see changes and to experience them. So if we just hold on to, I want to get better with this one exercise, well, if it's because of flexibility and the mobility of our body, it may be many more years before we actually experience that. Yeah. Oh, this feels better. And that's what a lot of people I work with have actually recognized, is that what they focused on in the beginning, that evolves and changes. And it's so interesting because it's like after a month, oh my gosh, I'm feeling so much better. The same client, a few months later, this is so much deeper. A year later, oh my goodness, 2 years. I mean, just keep going, which is why I think I've stuck with it now for over 20 years, is because we can go deeper with our understanding of how we move our body optimally. And let's face it, that as we're getting older, our body feels differently, and we may need different types of movements to counteract our lifestyle. Like my lifestyle in college is much different than when I was working full time at a university desk job compared to now I'm working full time out of my house. There's different considerations that influence how I feel. And this impacts what workouts and exercises are going to be most beneficial.
Nice, exactly right. And then again, it's important to have a clear understanding where your starting point is. In other words, it is well worthwhile before you start a new type of exercise, even in a gentle and moderate capacity, that you actually have a checkout with your GP, with your family physician, to actually make sure, okay, what's your heart like actually? What is your blood pressure like? What are there any other things that you should consider before you actually go out there and start any kind of sport? It's anyhow a good habit to have a good relationship with your GP and have regular checkups. Many of us live such busy lives, or maybe live such chaotic lives, that we don't pay attention to the basics, and that checkup might also reveal that you actually have a shoulder that's a bit dodgy. And if you're now going straight out to the gym and say, "Now let me lift those weights," well, you say hello to me in a very soon. And I don't mind earning money. That's okay. Just bring it on. Just, hurt yourself, then I can help you through surgery. But I think a much better way is actually draw the line. Is there, before you start a Pilates class, what are sort of the medical aspects? Are there medical aspects that you consider, or are there? Is it basically that you give them the warning, hey, do only as much as you can, etc.?
It really depends upon if I'm teaching a group class, someone privately,
Yeah.
or what I spend most of my time now is virtual classes. In a private session, there's going to be able to be more personalization, of course.
Sure.
We're going to be able to know exactly what's going on with your body, or we hope you know what's going on with your body. And we're going to make adjustments based upon that. So,
Yeah.
for instance, I've have had clients who have experienced vertigo. Some days it's perfectly fine and it doesn't impact Pilates at all. Other days they're like, this is not a good day. So I know we cannot change position quickly and roll over and roll up and work on mobility, because all of a sudden they're sick because of it. And what worked well for them last week is not today.
Nice.
I've also worked with a lot of people personally who have come straight from physical therapy for knee replacement, hip replacement, pelvic floor, core activation, whatever it may be. And so we are going to start Pilates at a different level than someone who has their physical, all systems are a go, nothing's in pain. They just want a good workout.
Yeah.
And even when someone goes to a group class or takes a class with me virtually via video, you always want to layer on, what option do you know is going to be most beneficial for you? And sometimes you don't know. So that could be that you watch an exercise tutorial. It could be that you ask the teacher a question. And whenever I would go to general group fitness classes, when I was working at the university, my lunch hour, I'd go to someone else's group fitness class. And many times they would use me as an example. Look at Beth, she's doing a different variation. Look at Beth, look at her form. And I only knew that because I had been moving with Pilates and making adjustments, and I just take that into a new workout style.
Sure.
So for those people who are already moving their bodies with different types of workouts, you may already know a lot of your go-to variations. Now, at the same time, we're going to play with that line as well, because when does it become, oh, I can't do full push-up, I only have to do push-up on my knees? Well, is there a medical reason why? If not, then let's maybe look at how we're going to slowly progress to something more challenging.
Sure.
And I bring that up because when I went back to working out after my cancer treatment, I could not push back up. I stayed down in my push-up exercise. I was so deconditioned. And I could have told myself, I just don't have the strength anymore. I can't do push-ups. But no, we work where we are and we slowly build back up. And sometimes it's going to be, actually this option isn't going to be beneficial. For instance, people who experience osteoporosis, osteopenia, we're going to not want to do loaded flexion. And so if we know that, okay, we're not going to do loaded flexion, we can always adapt Pilates exercises so it is suitable. And shifting from I can't do an exercise, I would rather focus on what can you do? What piece of the exercise can you do? What is an exercise substitution you can do? So you feel empowered to find movement and thread that more into your life rather than less.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Again, we are full circle to the alignment, to listening to your body, what works and what doesn't. But having said that, in order to figure out what works and what not, you have to take action. And that means sometimes you have to make the wrong decisions, to understand, okay, no, my body doesn't like that. But I think taking action and actually just going out there and giving it a try, as you said, is sometimes the best thing. Understanding that, no, it's very unlikely that you will be able to go the whole hour of the class when you normally haven't done anything more than 5 minutes or anything more than running up one flight of stairs with shortness of breath. So now, uh, let's actually start a movement where we embrace not the suck. Don't embrace the suck. That is something that is sort of the hardcore guys out there. Yeah, let's run 100 Ks. Yes, my feet are bleeding, but I embrace the suck. Well, no, certainly not when you're in our age group. May I suggest you actually embrace the sheer fact that your body is moving and actually observe yourself as you're going through motion and as you're experiencing your muscles flexing, extending, contracting, relaxing. It is actually a very beautiful time, because what will happen is that you actually focus on your breathing, that you focus on your muscles, that you focus on the warmth spreading over your body, that you focus on the sweat on your skin. This is all here and now. This is not yesterday about what you fucked up. This is not about tomorrow where you're full of fear. This is right now, and this is so beautiful to actually just be in that moment. And I think therefore your Pilates is such a powerful opportunity to realign yourself to the here and now, live intentional, and get yourself actually into a position where you actually can learn, embrace yourself. We often talk about self-love and loving ourselves. Well, yeah, most of us have actually great difficulties with our bodies. We don't love our bodies. Oh, look here, I'm fat there, and look there, I don't like that. And yeah, for crying out loud. This is all going on in your head. When you're actually in a Pilates position, you typically don't really think about that. Okay. So it's actually a really beautiful thing. I mean, there's so many positive sides of the work that you are doing, Beth. I mean, thank you for providing this opportunity to so many people out there. Um, if people want to know more about Pilates and about you, where can they find you?
They can find me at trifectapilates.com, Trifecta Pilates on YouTube. Pretty much type in Trifecta Pilates, something will come up, and you can explore how you can move with me both on YouTube and within the app, or some of the professional development opportunities as well.
Oh, beautiful. Guys, look down there into the description of the YouTube video and of the podcast, because all of Beth's details are down there. Whilst you're down there, please press the like and subscribe button so that you don't miss out on all the wonderful guests that I've got the privilege of interviewing. There are some amazing people like Beth, and every single interview I do, I grow. And in all fairness, whilst prior to Beth coming onto the show, I didn't have such a great understanding of Pilates. It is certainly, you have awoken my appetite, so to speak. I'm actually quite intrigued now to learn more and actually check you out, check some of your classes out on the internet, to actually just see what does my body actually say to do it. And so let's be curious. Let's go out there and let's explore life, and let's live in the moment and choose and make the right choices every second, because they are a privilege. Every second is a privilege to live on this earth. So you might as well make the most out of it. Okay.
It really is. And I think something that's challenging sometimes is back to embracing where we are. When we don't like where we are, it can be really hard to embrace it. And I wanted to acknowledge that, because a lot of people experience that with movement. I don't want to be here recovering from illness or from the surgery or not feeling good. I used to be able to do more push-ups. I used to be able to run. And I remember this. I just came out of surgery for an appendectomy that went really wrong. And the surgery ended up being 3 hours and much different than a typical one. And the next day I tried to walk, and it was very hard. My kids came in and said, "Want to go on a walk?" Yeah. I walked to the hospital room door and back, and they said, "That's it. That's it." And then the next day, I was able to walk around the wing of the hospital and that floor. And the nurse said, "Oh my gosh, look at you. You're doing so great." And just this rage came over me, honestly, because I thought, you should have seen me a week ago what I was able to do. And it was not just walking around limping and pain. It was amazing. But sometimes you just need to embrace even the suck and go through that, knowing that sometimes it's rest, sometimes it's just walking to the hospital room door and back, and progress can be made.
Oh, you make me laugh and you make me cringe at the same time, because of course we try to encourage our patients like that. Often enough, I would have been that person saying, "Oh, well done," knowing that the point from when they are starting is very, very different than the point that they had in mind where they are starting from. So let's forgive that nurse. She was meaning well. But I hear you. I hear you so much, Beth. But that's the journey of life. We have to get humbled to appreciate the value of life, to appreciate the value of us walking, us moving our body, us seeing, tasting, hearing, all those things we are taking for granted. There's so much we take for granted, and yeah, let's actually, whilst we can, improve ourselves to the best possible thing, because trauma is just around the corner. Challenges are just waiting. But if your body is in a position that it actually is in line, in tune, then it is so much more resilient. It is so much more capable of getting you through whatever challenges life throws you. So yes, Beth, you're an amazing woman. Thank you so much for being a guest on my show. This was actually a very revealing and very challenging for me. Challenging in the sense of making me curious. And that's what I love. That's what I love about this show. I'm never the same after an interview than I was before. And for that, I'm very, very grateful. You're an amazing woman, Beth.
Oh, thank you so much. And thanks so much for inviting me on.
Absolutely. And you guys out there, look after yourself and live with passion. Bye.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.